Good morning. Welcome to the Water's Edge. I invite you to stand now and sing with us. All the people said amen. You are not alone if you are lonely. When you feel afraid, you're not the only. We are all the same, in need of mercy, to be forgiven and be free. It's all you got to lean on, but thank God it's all you need. And all the people said amen. Whoa, and all the people said amen. Give thanks to the Lord, for his love never ends. And all the people said amen. If you're rich or poor, well, it don't matter. Weak or strong, you know love is what we're after. We're all broken and we're all in this together. God knows we stumble and fall, and he so loved the world, he sent his son to save us all. And all the people said amen. Whoa, and all the people said amen. Give thanks to the Lord, for his love never ends. And all the people said amen. Blessed are the poor in spirit, who are torn apart. Blessed are the persecuted and the pure in heart. Blessed are the hungry for another star. For theirs is the kingdom of God. And all the people said amen. Whoa, and all the people said amen. Give thanks to the Lord, for his love never ends. And all the people said amen. And all the people said amen. Whoa, and all the people said amen. Give thanks to the Lord, for his love never ends. And all the people said amen. And all the people said amen. Thanks for singing along. You may be seated.
Well, good morning, Water's Edge. Thank you for joining us this morning. It's good to see all you in person. If you're joining us online, we are glad you're worshiping with us as well. So this morning we're starting a new series. We've got a lot of stuff going on at the church. Yesterday was actually a busy day for us. So if you were here at 5 a.m., our high school mission trip took off. They're headed to Erie, Pennsylvania. They're going to be serving there all week. As you can tell, it's a pretty big group, a lot of adult volunteers. Today after service, we're actually going to have a really cool opportunity. You're going to be given a little card on your way out, and on that card is going to be the name of one person who's on this trip. It might be a youth, it might be one of the adults. But what we want you to do is put that on your fridge, put it on your nightstand, put it somewhere where you can see it, and pray for that specific person on the trip this week. Pray that they have fun, pray that they experience God, pray that they stay safe and healthy over in Pennsylvania, and make sure you grab one of those. But yeah, we're going to be thinking of that group and praying for them and hope they just have a great week serving over there. The other thing we had going on yesterday was we had our first official project in Miller Park. So we have partnered with Abide to adopt this area of North Omaha. We're going to support them, encourage them, have volunteers projects going on over there. Yesterday was our first one. So we started with a prayer walk, and then we did a project at one of our lighthouses. So there's 3 lighthouses in our area. These are kind of where the missionaries live. And they hope to be a light to their neighborhood. So we served at one of the lighthouses there. We got to build some garden beds. We got to clean up. We got to mow. We did a lot of cool stuff. And so on July 23rd, we are going to have our very first block party. So these are really the fun events, the best days of this partnership. So we start, we'll serve a little bit in the morning, and then we'll end with a block party. Everyone in the neighborhood will be invited. We're going to have bounce house, inflatables, food, music, games, all this fun stuff going on. But we need a lot of volunteers to make it happen. And kids of all ages can come and volunteer. So if you want to sign up and serve as a family, the block parties are a great opportunity to do that because there's lots of stuff that the kids can help out with as well. So you can sign up for that at weomaha.com/4millerpark. There'll be a bunch of different teams, so we need all sorts of people to come out, help us serve, and just make that a really special and fun day for the people in Miller Park. And then speaking of serving as well, we're going to have a ton of opportunities coming up here in August. We are going to have our We Serve Weeks coming up. It's going to start on July 31st and go for the next 2 weeks. So when We Serve started, it used to be one day. It grew into a week. Then it grew into doing the second Saturday of every month. And now we have the second Saturday of every month, and we have this 2-week big event in August, right before school starts. So if you go and look on that sign up, there's going to be tons of projects all over the city of Omaha, some here in the church, some in Millard, Gretna, Elkhorn, downtown, lots of different opportunities, and there are going to be all sorts of times and dates. So if you're available during the day, weeknights, weekends, just a bunch of projects, and we hope that over those 2 weeks, everyone in the church gets to sign up for at least one of those, and we'll just have a huge impact on the city in just 14 short days. So make sure you check that out, find a project that you're really interested in doing. So like I said, we're going to start our new series here. Our new series is called Slow Rollin'. So we're going to talk about rest and renewal and refocusing. And today, Pastor Craig is going to talk about Sabbath. That's where we're going to start. And actually, we are giving our building, since it's been so busy here and had about 400 kids a week ago, we are giving our building a Sabbath rest for the next week. They're going to put Craig's sermon into practice. Actually, what's happening, the building is closed because we are going to have to shut the power off to do some stuff to get ready for our construction of the addition. So there will be no power here. There will be no staff here. We'll still be available on phone and email if you need to get a hold of us, but we will not be here. And if you do show up here, it'll probably be about 100 degrees. So we won't want to hang out here anyway because there will be no AC. So that will be going on next week, and then we'll obviously be open in time for Sunday. And lastly, we have some exciting news to share if you didn't see an update on VBS. So VBS, I know some of you were here, some of you are volunteering. I'm looking at now. I think Jimmy's got a VBS song for us today, too, if you missed that music. We raised money during that for Miller Park Elementary, which is in our neighborhood that we adopted with Abide, to collect money for school supplies and a lot of resources for the teachers, things that they just don't have as many resources in that school. So we were hoping to resource them. We set a goal for $1,200. Apparently, that was very underestimating what our kids were capable of. We ended up raising $4,715, which is awesome. So because of that, I got to make a really fun phone call to the principal of Miller Park Elementary and say, hey, we talked about the school supplies. We have almost $5,000, and we're going to look at the best way to use that and help resource that school and get them ready for the fall. So thank you all for your generosity in that. Thank you all for your generosity all year long that makes VBS possible. We just had an awesome, awesome week, and I know the kids did too. And we have a little video to show you what all went on.
Well, in the spirit of VBS, I invite you to stand. We're going to sing My Lighthouse. There are a few actions to this, so if you were here this week, you'd probably know them. I invite you to stand and sing along, and if you know the actions, please go ahead and do them. In my wrestling and in my doubts, in my failures, you won't walk out. Your great love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. Oh, you are the peace in my troubled sea. Your truth will hold. Your great love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. Whoa. You are the peace in my troubled sea. My lighthouse, shining in the darkness, I will follow you. Oh, my lighthouse. To shore, safe to shore, safe to shore, safe to shore. I won't fear what tomorrow brings. With each morning I'll rise and sing. My God's love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. Whoa, you are the peace in my troubled sea. My lighthouse, shining in the darkness, I will follow you. Oh, my lighthouse, I will just promise you will carry me safe to shore, safe to shore, safe to shore, safe to shore. Fire before us, you're the brightest. You will lead us through the storms. Fire before us, you're the brightest. You will lead us through the storms. Fire before us, you're the brightest. You will lead us through the storms. Fire before us, you're the brightest. You will lead us through the storms. My lighthouse, shining in the darkness, I will follow you. Oh, my lighthouse, I will just promise you will carry me safe to shore, safe to shore, safe to shore, safe to shore. Yeah. That was awesome. Thanks for doing that. Who breaks the power of sin and darkness, whose love is mighty and so was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy, worthy, worthy. Oh, this is amazing grace. This is unfailing love. That you would take my place. That you would bear my cross. You laid down your life. That I would be set free. Oh, Jesus, I sing for all that you've done for me. Thank you for singing. We'll do one more. This one's called King of Kings.
In the darkness we were waiting, without hope, without light, till from heaven you came running. There was mercy in your eyes to fulfill the law and prophets. To a virgin came the word, from a throne of endless glory to a cradle in the dirt. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of glory, majesty, praise forever to the King of Kings. To reveal the kingdom coming and to reconcile the lost, to redeem the whole creation. You did not despise the cross, for even in your suffering you saw to the other side, knowing this was our salvation. Jesus, for our sake you died. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of glory, majesty, praise forever to the King of Kings. In the morning that you rose, all of heaven held its breath, till that stone was moved for good, for the Lamb had conquered death. And the dead rose from their tombs, and the angels stood in awe, for the souls of all who'd come to the Father are restored.
No truth of old shall not kneel, shall not faint. By his blood and in his name and in his to me. Praise the Father, praise the God of glory, majesty, praise forever to
of Kings. Praise forever to the King of Kings.
Thank you for singing.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Craig Finnestead, one of the pastors here at the Water's Edge. Welcome to all of you who are online. Thank you for being with us this morning. Whoever you are and wherever you are, if you're new to us, thanks for worshiping with us. We're not a community of perfect people here. We're a community of imperfect people. We're sinners who seek God's forgiveness together. We are like-minded people who are doing our best to love our community. Welcome wherever you are coming from, and whoever you are, thanks for being with us this morning. We'd love to have you be part of our family. So this morning I'm going to talk about something that's going to be crucial to your future. It's actually crucial for your everyday life today. It's God's best plan for our life. Now, you're going to leave be in agreement with what I'm saying. But I don't think that there's a lot of you that are probably going to implement what I'm going to say, even though you know like it's a good thing. And I think when we don't do this, we're missing out like on an amazing opportunity that God has for us. So we're in a sermon series. It's the first week. It's called Slow Rollin, and I've had conversations with people over the last week or so. And one of the things I'm hearing people say is, "I can't believe that summer is 2/3 over at this point. It seems like we just got out of school, and it was just like Memorial Day, and now it's already a week past the 4th of July, and school starts in a few weeks." And it, 3 responses. One is pretty good. That one doesn't count because no one's pretty good. You hear something else other than pretty good. So the 2 more common ones I'll get is, I'm busy. Yeah, so we hear people say that we're busy, and then I have also people that will say, I'm really tired. So when we're asked to describe ourselves, we say that we're busy and we're tired. So what we're going to do over the next month or so is we're going to look at just really slowing things down a little bit. So we're not so busy, so we're not so tired, so time doesn't go by so fast. We're going to look at solitude. We're going to look at silent Sabbath this week in our ordinary conversations. So we're going to look at 7 things about Sabbath, and the first of the 7 is really just what Sabbath is. So best I can tell, here's what I think Sabbath is. Sabbath is like balance from your busyness. It's rest from your fatigue. It's peace from your stress, and it's focus from your distraction. So imagine if someone came up to you and asked you, "I'm rested." Now, hopefully, you can take some steps this week, and when someone asks you how you're doing on Thursday or Friday, you can say that, and you can look them in the eye with integrity, and you can say that. Now, if you don't get there, just say it anyway, just to see what their reaction is. I think it'd be pretty cool. Now, you're not going to work to get to this place. You're not going to sleep yourself into this type of life. Sabbath, it can be a lot of different things. I think it's important to know that Sabbath is going to be, different for different people. So one of the things, one of the ways I will experience Sabbath is that I love to write. So a lot of the stuff I write, no one ever reads. Maybe Benjamin and David will go through the journals someday and realize how weird I really am. But sometimes I just like to write. I like to do bullet points. I like to write poems, prayers, whatever. That's Sabbath for me. It's disengaging from the world and engaging with God. Yeah, I like to walk. I used to like to run. Injuries don't let me do that anymore, but I like to walk through the woods. And after a couple hours of it, physically a little bit tired, but you experience Sabbath during this time, or I do. Like there's mental and spiritual and emotional refreshment. For some it's worship, for some it's prayer, for some it's hanging out with somebody that gives you life. For some, it's quiet. For some, it's being alone. For some, it's reading. Sabbath is not one size fits all. Part of the practice of Sabbath is finding out what works for us. Now, the result is going to be the same. The result is these activities then are going to connect us to God. We don't get connected to God in the busyness, not in the stress, not in the anxiety, not in the distractions. We experience God through Sabbath. That's how it happens. Now, it becomes a necessary task for us. Augustine was this theologian. He was around in the early centuries, and he was a bishop. And one of the things he wrote, it's the heartbeat of Christianity. He says, "You have made us for thyself, and my heart is restless until it finds rest in you." So let's just say, like, physically, like, we have energy and strength and we're doing pretty good. Emotionally, like, we make good decisions. There's not much anxiety or depression. Relationally, they're fine. Now, even if all that is true, there's still going to be something missing in your life, because there's a place in our heart that can only be filled by the love of God. Like, we are his child. He has created us. And until we're, like, experiencing some sort of relationship with him, there's going to be this emptiness. Like, we are wired to be in a relationship with our heavenly parent. Now, think of a baby. Like, what is it that's going to calm down a fairly newborn baby more than anything else? Is it a bunch of activities? Well, let's roll around the floor. Let's play with this toy. Like, that's not going to do it. Food is not going to do it typically. Like, you can give us some applesauce or some milk or whatever, and sometimes that just doesn't work. What does work is, like, the embrace of a parent. Sometimes I'll see babies, crying around here, and we could try the toys, we could try the activity, but it's ultimately the embrace of the parent that calms the baby down. And so it is with us. Like, we spend so much time and energy purchasing more toys, thinking that's what's going to do it for us. We spend time eating food or doing certain activities, thinking that this is where we've been created to be in a relationship with the Creator. There's some talks about Sabbath. So there's a special rest, it's like a real rest, waiting for the people of God. For all who have entered into God's rest have rested from their labor. Here's what I want here's the challenge this week. So let us do our best by God. It's just God saying, like, this is the way the reality of the universe works. But if we disobey God as the people of Israel, you're not experiencing Sabbath and you're falling. Like, you're distracted, you're busy, you're stressed out. And, like, if you don't do this, like, dysfunction, disease, depression, like, these things are going to happen in your life. So if you're new here, I have two sons. Benjamin is 21 and David's 15. If you're not new, had them working in the yard. And it was just like one of those Nebraska summer days, like 93 degrees and 80% humidity, and it's tough work. And I can just tell that they're exhausted. I can tell they're discouraged. I can tell they're getting distracted. What I'd like to say as a loving parent, what I would do is I would say, hey, Benny and David, why don't you guys come inside for a little bit? Let's get you cooled down. I'm going to give you some water, and we can maybe, that would be like what a loving parent would do. Like, I would tell them to rest because I love them, not because I want the work to get done, because I love them. What do we do? We take classes on time management so we can become more efficient. And God is saying, like, I love you. I see how hard you're working. I see that life is tough for you right now. I see this done. Now, God gives us Sabbath. He doesn't force us to receive it. Like, God doesn't force us to receive anything. Like, that's coercion. It's not a gift at that point. Enter the world. So it's one of the 10 Commandments. The reason that God gives us the commandments is because he loves them. That's not the reason why. The reason why is because he loves us. God says don't gossip. That's one of the 10 commandments. He tells us not to gossip because he knows that gossip is bad for us and gossip is bad for others. It kills relationships. So he says don't gossip because I love you. Don't envy is one of the 10 as well. He says don't envy. Don't envy because it's impossible to authentically love someone that you're envious or jealous of. So this is a terrible thing. I love you. I don't want you to do this. So there's 8 other ones, and one of them is take a break every once in a while so we can be connected. Because I don't want you burned out. I don't want you stressed out. I don't want you worn out. You have 6 days each week for your ordinary work. So he's not saying just do nothing all the time. He's saying yeah, you got 6 days to do your work. But the 7th day is a Sabbath day of rest dedicated to the Lord your God. Now you can accept this or you don't have to accept it, just like any other gift we receive. So I do a lot of weddings, and I did one last night. But of all the restaurants in Omaha, I don't typically do restaurant weddings. We just don't get many requests for those. But yeah, I've probably done a couple dozen since I've been here 17 years ago. And the most common one restaurant I ever, I probably did 3 or 4 in this restaurant was Lo Sole Mio. It's this Italian place down in Midtown. Now, I have, best I can tell, 2 Lo Sole Mio gift cards that remain. One's for $100 and one is for $50. So Lo Sole Mio closed last week. It's not open anymore. So I looked at these gift cards and I thought about this and I thought God, for this $50, I could have had lunch with someone. We could have eaten Italian food and laughed and went to a cool part of the city. For the $100 one, I could have taken the family out. Although it wouldn't have got us quite, because I got these 2 boys that just eat. They're better eaters than anybody I know. I might have got us 2/3 the way there. I guess I could have had bread and water and maybe the $100 would have covered it. But I miss these opportunities because I didn't use the gift that was given to me. Now don't wait until it's too late. The gift is offered to us daily. Open the gift today. So Sabbath, best I can tell, has 4 adversaries. Just leave the screen up there while I talk about these. I want you to keep looking at these. Adversary number 1 is that we are programmed as a child to believe that we are what we do. Number 2 is we're programmed to believe if we're not busy, no one needs me, therefore I'm not important. Adversary number 3 is that more is better. And adversary number 4 is I'll get around to it eventually. The Sabbath, it does sound like a good idea, just not today. So the world programs us against Sabbath. I did this wedding last night. I probably knew about maybe 5 or 6 couples there from the church, and then maybe 3 or 4 couples from the community. They were all kind of talking when I got there, and I just started talking to this other couple. Didn't know them. They didn't know me. So what do you think the first question the woman asked me was? What do you do? I said, well, you'll find out in about 20 minutes. I'm the guy that stands up there and makes people laugh. So guess what the follow-up question was from the man? He said, how big is your church? It's all of a sudden, my value is attached to, first of all, my job, and then second of all, how they would perceive that I'm successful or not. When those are about if you listed the top 10 things about me, to me, they're number 11 and 12, because there's so many more things about me that I wish that people knew. But that's what we're programmed to do. A big house is better than a smaller house. A fancy truck is better than a modest truck. A full schedule is better than an empty schedule because it means that people need us and we're important. Those are the first 3 adversaries. Now, I broached briefly on the 4th adversary a few moments ago, and this is the one that's the most dangerous. I'm going to get around to it eventually. I'll go and have the Italian lunch, or I'll take the family out for dinner. I'll get around to it eventually. Well, I don't think you will unless you decide to change sooner rather than later. Like you're saying, okay, well, I got 4 kids, I got a busy job. It's just not the right season of my life for Sabbath. I'm going to get to this when the kids get older and I'm in a better place in my professional life. Well, when your kids get older, they're going to have like 8 grandkids. They're still going to be busy. Your job is still going to be there. And all of a sudden, like this restaurant's closed and you can no longer redeem the gift certificate. Like it's dumb, it's dangerous. So I got a question for you. It's rhetorical. You don't have to like raise your hand and answer it. What if you just started with a small step today? Instead of waiting for something that might never happen. Just something small, something little, something you can do. And something you can be successful with. All right, number 4, Sabbath recreates us into God's image. You've heard me talk about this so many times in other ways. Like we're created in God's image. We've fallen from the image. When we're restored to that image is when our life is really blessed. So God blessed the 7th day and made it holy because on it God rested from all his work that he had done in creation. So we are 1 chapter and 2 verses in the Bible, and God gives us one of his attributes. He rests. That's who God is. And us is restored at our best. It's who we are and it's what we do. So, for example, like God's generous. When we're restored to that image, we're generous. We're generous with our words. We're generous with our time. We're generous with our finances. We're generous with our listening. Like when we do these things, it feels good and it feels right because we're created in God's image and God is generous. God is forgiving. When we're restored to God's image, like God, we forgive. And when we forgive, it feels really good. Like those chains of bitterness and resentment, we can let go of those because now we're acting and thinking like God, and that's how we're created to be. God is a servant. Yesterday I was here at 4:45 in the morning. The kids' large group room was full of high school students and adults who are going on this trip. And I told them, I said, you got an opportunity in front of you Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday to serve another human being. These are men and women that could not afford to get their house painted, to build a wheelchair ramp, to build a deck where they can go out and experience some Sabbath. I didn't use that exact phrase there, but you have a chance to serve, and we most look like Jesus when we serve because Jesus was a servant. It's God's image. When we're restored to that image, we're a servant as well. So God rested. When we rest, when we take a Sabbath, it restores us to God's image. And God modeled for us then, like things like balance and harmony. I've worked for 6 days. I created everything. Now I need to take a break. Okay, so you parent all day. At the end of the day, you need to take a break and rest. When you work all day and it's really stressful, you need to take some type of break and rejuvenate. When we give, we look like God. When we forgive, we look like him. When we serve, we look like him. And when we rest, we look like God. Now, number 5 is Sabbath, and this is going to be so important because I think a lot of us, like, we focus on religion and not Christianity. So I want us to think about Christianity. Like, Sabbath is not how we earn God's love. Sabbath is a demonstration of God's love. So I think what happens is we think, okay, God needs us to do all these things and not do all these things. Like, he says, I got to do this, but I can't do that. And it just becomes overwhelming. Like, I can't gossip, I can't lie, I can't steal, I have to honor my parents, I should serve, I should pray, I should forgive. And like, what happens then is like, we have this great big checklist with all these boxes, and we're not even close to checking all the boxes because we're not good enough. So we think if we do this, we'll earn God's love. If I can check all the boxes, I'm going to earn God's love. And you don't have to check all the boxes to earn God's love because God already loves you. So Jesus then said to them, now listen to this. The Sabbath was made to meet the needs of the people. It's not a to-do list checkbox that we do to say, hey, God, look at me, I'm resting, just like you said. You love me now? No, it's not like that. The Sabbath was made to meet the needs of the people and not people to meet the requirements of the Sabbath. So do you know when I started to love Benjamin and David? It was the moment that I found out that Amber was pregnant. Now, they've done some really cool things. Benjamin, won all these debate tournaments, and David scores all these goals in lacrosse, and sometimes they're just an absolute joy to be around. Now, sometimes they're teenage boys, and they're not. They spill things and break things, and acted like I acted when I was a teenager. Now, sometimes I feel I'm a really good dad, sometimes not so much. But there has never been a moment in either of their lives where I didn't love them. They didn't have to fill out any to-do list or check off any unresolved box to earn my love. I first loved them the moment that I found out that Amber was pregnant. Now, our heavenly parent tells us to rest because he wants abundance and faithfulness for our tired and our stressed out lives. God gives us Sabbath as a gift to rest and renew and refocus and be restored so that we may re-enter the world. And number 6, I'm halfway there, I've got 12. Just tease. We only got 7, but 7 has 4 subpoints, so. Sabbath is not legalistic and dogmatic. Sabbath is full of grace. And so this is going to answer one of your objections. I think most of you are on board with this. Like, okay, I can do this. I can do something small. I need some. God says it. I'm all in. But so Sabbath is not legalistic and dogmatic. Sabbath is full of grace. So it's important to know that we live not 5,000 years ago in ancient Israel. We don't live 2,000 years ago when Jesus was around. We live in Nebraska. Unless you're online, you might live somewhere else. But for all of us, the year is 2022, so there's a different context here. Now, we have to look at how Jesus looked at Sabbath. He did not see it as dogmatic and rigid. He saw it as full of grace. So it was the Sabbath day. So Jesus would have been surrounded by a bunch of people. It was the Sabbath day. A man came up to Jesus. The man had hurt his hand. Now, he had heard that Jesus had been healing people, so he goes up to Jesus and he says, "Will you heal my hand?" Now, everybody was watching, everybody was listening because they wanted to see what Jesus would do. Now, they all knew that Jesus could heal the guy's hand. That was not the reason why they were watching and listening. The reason why they were watching and listening was the Sabbath. And the law says don't do anything on the Sabbath. There's this rigid, dogmatic interpretation. All the Pharisees said, this guy cannot heal. He can't do this. So what did Jesus do? He healed the man's hand. So he got some negative feedback from that, and then he turned to his critics in Mark chapter 3, verse 4. Then he turned to his critics, and he asked this question, and it's a profound question. Does the law permit good deeds on the Sabbath, or is it a day for doing evil? Is this a day to save life, or is it a day to destroy it? And they wouldn't answer him because you don't have an answer for a question like that. So the critics had this tight definition of Sabbath, like no work, 24 hours, nothing, absolutely nothing, devote the entire day to God. Now, Jesus, he challenged their definition of devotion. And he's saying here, Sabbath is not about dogmatism. It's not about legalism. It's about hope, and it's about grace. Now, people's Sabbaths are going to vary. There's no one size fits all. There's no right way to do this. Yeah, I'm grateful right now that there's police officers and firemen. I'm grateful there's nurses and pharmacists who are working right now. Those of us who are clergy all over the city, we're working right now on the Sabbath. But we believe that Sabbath is flexible. It's not like this rigid dogmatic thing that you have to do from this time to that time. It's just figuring out what is best for you. It's about disconnecting from the world and connecting from God. It's about getting away from the things that suck the life away from you and going to the things that restore your life. So here's what I want you to do. Take the first step. For some, it might be the first step. Like, this is totally foreign to you. You're just going to do one thing this week that adds some value to your life. And for some, it's going to be the next step. You've made some progress on the Sabbath stuff, and there's some things that work for you, but you realize it could be working better, so you take the next step. Now, the last thing I got is number 7. Sabbath doesn't happen on accident. Sabbath happens intentionally. And this is the way life works. Like, let's just say, you go up to this guy, and he's 56 years old, and he's retired. You say, how did he pull off retiring at age 56? I'll tell you what he's not going to say. He's not going to say, well, I just woke up with all this money one day. It was really weird. I looked at my 401k and had all this money. My house was paid off, and I'm good to go. I don't know how it happened. That's not how it happens. This person said no to a lot of things. They were wise. They invested wisely, and they're able to do this, and people do it. Not on accident, but because they plan. I was talking to this guy before church. It's a trainer, a personal trainer, a physical trainer. And how do you get really fit? You don't wake up one morning. It's like, wow, where did these biceps come from? And the six pack is crazy. You don't just wake up and do that. You make a plan, and you eat well, and you exercise well, and you're consistent with it. That's how it works. So to get to this place where we're balanced and rested and reinvigorated and ready to re-enter the world, you plan it and you do it. Just like anything else. So here's the deal. If you don't plan to do this, specifically, and if there's no intentionality to this, the world is always going to default you to busyness, distraction, stress, fatigue. That's where the world will default you. Unless you do something about it, the world is going to take you to that place. So let's look at Jesus. But Jesus, and look at this third word here in Luke chapter 5, verse 16. But Jesus, what's the word? It's often. It doesn't say, well, when Jesus was just burned out, he went to the mountain to pray. When Jesus had no other options, he goes to the mountain. Jesus often did this because he knew that there was times. And this is Jesus. If Jesus needs to do this, we need to do this. There's times that Jesus said, okay, sometimes the world's a little bit too much. I need to distance myself from the world. I need to connect to God so that I can get healthy and I can re-enter the world again. So Jesus often withdrew to the wilderness for prayer. So some of you are saying, well, Jesus can do that. Well, here's the deal. Jesus was kind of busy. He had a little bit of responsibility, like saving the world. Jesus still knew that Sabbath had to happen. You're thinking, okay, I'm really busy. I don't know if I have time for this. I know people, I'd say 2 things. Number 1, if you're really, really busy, you don't not have time for this. It becomes more crucial and more important at that point. And then secondly, I know people who are busier than you that can still pull this off, and they realize they pull it off because they need to pull it off. So ultimately, I think this comes down to a matter of faith, and it's really trusting God, that God, I'm going to give you this time. I'm going to take this hour away. I'm going to take this 15 minutes away, and I'm going to sharpen myself, and I'm going to receive life from someone, or I'm going to receive life from you, and I have less time to do the things I need to do, but I think you're going to make good use of that time, and I'm going to be more sharp and more focused and more effective, and I can do more in 23 hours and 30 minutes connected to you and rested that I can do in 24 hours by myself. This last week has been really busy for me. I learned a long time ago that if this isn't part of my rhythm, I'm just not much of a person to be around. Friday I was busy all day. I had a wedding rehearsal until 8 o'clock at night. I had to be here at 4:45 for communion for the kids. We had a wedding rehearsal for a different wedding I'm doing here at 10:30. This family I did the wedding for last night had been to many of my weddings. I wrote a new wedding all yesterday afternoon. I got to the place at 5. I didn't leave until 8:30. I got home at 9. Galen will attest. The sermon was written mostly this morning. She got the notes like at 7 a.m. I got a wedding tomorrow. I got a funeral on Wednesday. Like, it's a busy time for me right now. But it's times like this where two things have to happen. One is I just have to have some Sabbath. Friday night when I got home, I sat down with my little book and I just wrote. I just kind of wrote some things. I wrote some plans about the future. I wrote this little poem that wasn't any good about some things I'm struggling with. But I did it, and it gave me life. Yesterday I went hiking for a little bit. I knew that it was a busy day, but I knew that this is part of my weekly rhythm, and I need to be outside. I need to hear the birds. I need to smell the air. I need to be able to work with God that way. And it's the faith, it's the trust. And we're going to pray a prayer that I wrote, and I wrote this prayer about 12 years ago at a place where I was just totally burned out, a place where I was totally tired, a time in my life when I was not a good person to be around. Sabbath, it takes us from that place to a much better place. It reconnects us to God so that when we re-enter the world, we're so much better than when we left the world. Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to just do one small thing this week that you can be successful with. Just one small thing. Maybe it's daily, maybe it's 3 or 4 times this week, but maybe it's getting with a friend briefly that just gives you life and gives you joy. Maybe it's doing an activity outside that you love to do, like you're busy, but you need to do this. Maybe it's just opening up like the book of Matthew and you're going to read the first few chapters of the New Testament, or you're just going to sit there in silence and do your absolute best to listen. Or maybe at work, you just, instead of having lunch at your desk, you just go out for a 30-minute walk and you're just by yourself, and whatever works for you, it's your thing, but just do it, whatever it is. Do it a few times this week and just test God out on this. And I believe that God is going to bless us. Have faith that you can do more in these 23 hours and 45 minutes is a little bit more connected to God, and a little bit more rested, and a little bit more focused. And you can do 24 hours by yourself trying to grind this out day after day after day. So do that. I want to hear how you're doing. Let me know. I'd love to hear what your Sabbath is. I'd love to hear what it looks like for you. I'd love to hear the result as well. So I invite you to pray with me now the prayer that I wrote. And this is in my book that was published in 2016. But I would have written this prayer back in 2010. Every once in a while when I'm feeling a little bit burned out or a little bit stressed out, a little bit too busy, a little bit too distracted, I'll return to this, and I invite you to pray it with me this morning. So let us pray together in one voice. Dear God, my life is full of responsibilities, tasks, and worries. I'm tired. I'm tired of being tired. You rested after creating the world. You instruct me to rest. Make me lie down in green pastures. Lead me beside quiet waters. Refresh my soul. I pray for Sabbath. Help me to consistently find times and places for you to recreate me. Times and places to listen and laugh. Times and places to rest and reflect. Times and places to pray and play. Times and places to rejuvenate and be restored. Give me faith to trust your words that Sabbath is the best use of my time and energy. Let me find joy and delight during Sabbath. May I emerge from Sabbath as reinvigorated, balanced, and focused. Amen. So I pray for all of us some Sabbath this week. Just take the next step. Take a small step. Do something that reconnects you to God and adds value and gives you life.
So as you guys walk out today, make sure you grab one of these cards. We'll be handing them out, and that's going to have the name of someone on the mission trip that we want you to pray for this week. So I have Rachel Hall. So Rachel, if you're watching this, I'll be praying for you this week, and we'll support those kids and those volunteers that are with them. So for those of us that may have come in here today a little bit tired and burnt out and overworked, I hope we leave here just a little bit rested. And then just like we read in Hebrews, let's do our best this week to continue to find ways and intentionally seek that rest. We'll see you next week at the Water's Edge.